So today we have this 2006 Toyota Tacoma with the 4-liter V6, and we're doing spark plugs on it. Remove the negative battery terminal with a 10mm. Make things easier, we're going to remove this engine cover. It's held on with these two 10mm nuts. So those nuts are out, just grab hold of the front, pull it up, pull it out of there. Now come over to the passenger side, loosen this hose clamp with a 10mm socket, just grab hold of it, pull it off. Now unlatch the air filter housing clips, pull that away, get rid of that. Now you can start disconnecting the coils. Each electrical connector has a little tab on the top that you push down and you pull it out. It might take a little bit of wiggling because these I don't think have been touched since they were at the factory. A little flat blade screwdriver can help motivate them too. Just push the tab down and then pry the connector away from the coil. Like that. Yeah. Each coil is held down with a single 10mm bolt. Remove that. Once the bolt is out, just grab the coil, wiggle it back and forth while pulling upward. If they're really stuck like these are, just take your screwdriver and help pry the coil upward. Pull them out. Just repeat the same process for the rest of the coils. I'll take a 5/8 spark plug socket on a fairly long extension. Just go in the spark plug tube and pull the plug out. And take a telescopic magnetic pickup tool, shove it in there and grab that plug. Wow, this thing's gone. Now take your spark plug gap tool and make sure that your new plugs are gapped not smaller than 1mm and not bigger than 1.1mm. So this one is right in the middle, which is perfect. Also make sure that the crush sleeve is in place and it's in its proper position. That taper or slant has to face the cylinder head, so it sits just like that. You can see the way that this one's on this plug, that's the correct way it needs to be. Now take your new plug, just carefully drop it into the spark plug hole. Guide it in with your finger as far down as you can get it, like that. Take your socket and extension and start threading them in by hand. Never ever start these with a tool. And you torque these down to 14 foot-pounds, which works out to about 168 inch-pounds. You don't have to use a torque wrench. Just make sure that you got it tight enough to where it seats the crush sleeve, and just make sure that you're not over-torquing them. Remember, you are threading into aluminum. Now take the coil, make sure this little gasket stayed with it, and take a tiny bit of white lithium grease and just put it on the inside of the coil boot. Just a tiny bit. Work it around. And do that for all of the coils. And then just insert it into the spark plug hole. Push it, make sure it's fully seated. Now run its hold down bolt. Be very careful not to over torque these because they can crack the valve cover. Just about a quarter turn past snug, that's all they need. Put the electrical connector on until it clicks. And then just do that for the rest of the coils. Now take the air filter box, and you'll see on the back of it, it's got these two plastic pegs that have to pilot into these receiver holes. So just take it, pull that back, shove it in there, close it. And then slide these retaining clips on, like that. Take the hose, get it on there. Don't have to go crazy tight on it. So make sure it's good. Alright, now this side is done. Now it's time for the tricky side. Now I get to the fun stuff. Working around this intake, which is actually a lot easier than it looks, as you'll see. Just leave the front coil connected for now. There's no room to remove the connector with it bolted down because it hits the intake. Middle coil, you can reach that one. Just push down on the tap of your fingers, take a screwdriver, pry it off, like it did on the other side. And for the back coil, same deal. Just leave it connected until you unbolt it because that PCV hose is in the way. You can't easily remove the connector. Now just take your 10mm on extension and start removing those bolts. Starting with the first coil. Just grab the coil and pull it up. Might have to pry with the screwdriver. There we go. Now with the coil loose, you can pull the connector. Just push on the release tab while prying with the screwdriver. Get the connector loose. And there we go. And then just snatch the coil out. Now you're gonna have to remove this stiffener bracket for the intake. It's held in with two 12mm bolts, one on the top and one on the bottom. Just to remove the one on the top and the one on the bottom, you just have to loosen. Just loosen it enough to where it falls away like that. Just get rid of the bolt. Easy to access now. If you want to, you can just loosen this PCV hose. Grab the hose clamp and just get it off the intake, drop it down. And that'll allow you to slide the stiffener bracket the other way and get clear of the rear coil. Go in and get rid of the bolt. Alright, just remove the plugs. Pretty straightforward. Wow, these are even different plugs. So somebody just did the easy side and skipped the hard side. Now slide that stiffener bracket over, get out of the way, get that middle plug. Just drop the new plugs in, same deal as before. Bracket out of the way. Just run them down and torque them. You know this drill already. Grease up the coils. I just drop the coils in. Just find that way that it falls in there. Bolt it down. Quarter turn. Click the connector on. Bracket out of the way. Middle coil. Bolt. Connector. Now the front coil. This one's a little tricky. Just get it in there. Take the coil, bolt it down first. Now sort of set the coil connector on top of the coil. And then just shove it back with a screwdriver or something. Just carefully, don't break anything. Come in the other side of the screwdriver and then just kind of like lift it into position. And then just slide it down till it clicks. Just like that. If you disconnected that PCV hose, now's the time to reconnect it. Just get it around that stiffener bracket. Take it and just plug it in there. Now stiffener bracket, start the top bolt, tighten it, and tighten it down, but don't over torque it. If you over torque these, you can damage the intake. Once that one's tight, then you can tighten down the bottom one. Now get the engine cover in place. It has these back tabs that have to grab onto those rubber bushings there. Just line those up, shove them on, and push them down onto the studs. Like that. Start the nuts. Tighten them down 10mm. Reconnect the negative battery terminal. And that's it. You're done. Now just start it up and make sure everything's right. Now let's make sure everything fires up and runs nice. Beautiful.